Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Hello, I'm Reverend Matt Taylor,
And I'm Reverend Abby Rhodes.
and that's probably the slickest we've had so far. Unfortunately,
We're
unfortunately,
getting
this
good
is
at it.
unfortunately this is the last time we're putting this on a Wednesday night. We may return to something similar in the future. We have loved doing it, haven't we, Abby? Really enjoyed
We totally loved it.
hearing people's stories and just talking to people about their faith stories. It's been really, really exciting.
Yeah.
For those of maybe this is your first evening, that's what it's about. We're talking to members of our congregation about a particular story, particular moment in their life, even though we encourage them to tell us more about their lives as well. Particular moment or a couple of moments of your life that were life changing, and tonight is no different to the other nights. And we're really excited and very pleased to welcome with us Ingrid Graña. Did I get that right, Ingrid?
Sí, muy bien.
So look, we've even got the squiggle above your N. So,
Brilliant.
although you did have to tell me how to do it, I'm grateful for you to be here, and we're really looking forward to hearing your stories tonight. Now, Abby, what we've got to remind everyone to do this week, we keep forgetting to do.
We keep forgetting to say, please, if you've got questions that come up during when Ingrid's speaking about her stories, put them into the comments, because then we can pick them up at the end. And yes, so we'd love to be able to sort of put your questions to Ingrid. We keep forgetting to invite them, so we've invited them this time.
Yes, so we're looking forward to hearing those and your comments too as we go along. It's always really
absolutely
encouraging to know we aren't just three of us talking to ourselves, which we may be, but I can tell by the numbers we're already growing, which is fantastic tonight. So Ingrid, I'm going to kick it off really and just ask, I guess, where did your kind of journey, where did your story with Jesus begin?
In a way, I can't remember when it began, because as far as I remember, I've always gone to Sunday school. And although this was in Argentina, where I was born and brought up, and the language there is Spanish, I went to the Scots Presbyterian Church. So all my spiritual life has been in English.
Oh, right.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh, right.
And these were the days many moons ago, when there weren't many cars about, and but one of our neighbours had a little Volkswagen Beetle, and he used to take us all to Sunday school. So as the kids were being piled into the car, by the time we got to Sunday school, there were 7 or 8 of us in a little Beetle.
Yeah.
Was driving.
Yeah, I can imagine the health and the safety people watching right now and just thinking, "Oh my goodness." So yeah, okay, that's wonderful. So that's you just can't remember a moment really when you didn't have some sort of faith back as a child. And as we've said already, the stories we've been speaking about with people have got different backgrounds and different, and where people come to faith. Sorry, I interrupted you, Ingrid. You were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't remember when, because I remember of always going to Sunday school, but I do remember very clearly by the time I was 12, there was the opportunity for my little cohort to be confirmed. And my parents thought at the time that perhaps I was a little bit young. I had the most amazing parents. I never argued, never talked back, because, well, they had very good child management. I
was going to say, it sounds like you were a great child, not just that only your parents were wonderful.
The way they sort of managed me. But at this time, it was the first and one of the very few times that I really felt I had to stand my ground and really talk my parents into letting me take confirmation at that time.
So what was their objection, Ingrid? So this is you taking, in effect, taking your baptism vows for yourself, isn't it? So what was their objection?
Yeah, I think my brother was 2.5 years older than I, and he was going to be confirmed that year. And they felt that me being the younger sibling, I should wait a year or two so that we weren't confirmed together.
Okay.
But I really, really felt that was the time for me. And as I say, my parents did listen and allowed me to be confirmed at that time.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's unusual. I'm kind of, imagining children I know arguing with their parents about getting confirmed, but it's obviously meant something great to you, very deep to you at that time, obviously, Ingrid.
Yeah, and it's only as an adult, and in fact quite recently, when I've been thinking about listening to God, which I think about all the time. I realized that was probably the first time that God was calling me to do something, because I really felt so very strongly that I had to do this now. I couldn't wait another year. So
amazing.
So following on from that that beginning, as it were, tell us a little bit, about some further steps on your journey, Ingrid.
I continued going to church. Then when I came to this country, I went to church as well all along. And then I was going through a very bad patch in my life. I'd moved to a different area to where the church, where it was my spiritual home at the time. I then moved to a different area. And I felt that although I attended that church, I never felt part of it. And on one occasion, I was going through a very, very difficult time in my life, and I really felt I needed to speak to somebody. I needed prayer. So I went to the church and found that there was really nobody there who was able to talk to me or help me out. Now there happened to be a bus stop outside the church, so I jumped onto the first bus that came along and headed to a larger church, thinking, well, I will get some help there. And when I got there, I was welcomed, but I was told that there was actually nobody on that particular day that could help me, and if I wanted to make an appointment or words to that effect. Which,
so did you felt a bit let down by the church at that point, would you say, Ingrid? Or
very, very much so, to the point that I really turned my back on the church. I didn't turn my back on God, and I was very conscious of him being there, but I did lose well, let's say I lost faith in the church. Then some time went by, and I got a different job. And at this place, there was a very strong link with a local church. And the church effectively came to the place where I was working, which was a very sheltered scheme for the elderly. And they put on a service each Sunday evening, so I started going along there, and really felt felt welcome by that group, and began to go back to church, although the church was coming to me.
Well, that's handy.
That's no bad thing.
That's kind of what we're doing right now over the internet. It's coming to people rather than, so they don't even have to get out their house, particularly on a cold evening like this evening. That's so. I mean, that's sadly that is the story of many people. Maybe they feel let down by the church. They were hoping the church was going to be there for them at a specific moment in life, and actually, although God was, the church itself seemed not to be. As you know, we're made of ordinary people. The church, we aren't made of superheroes, and the church makes mistakes. But what's really interesting about your story, Ingrid, is it hadn't broken your faith in God, and you were still open enough to want to be involved when you saw something that really began to welcome you in a way that you didn't feel welcome before. Is that fair to say that?
That's very right. And then some years down the line, I was already living in Coventry by then. A friend of mine said, I was into prayer and so on already, but a friend of mine said, there is an opportunity, or they're looking for lay chaplains at Coventry Cathedral. And I got really excited about this. So I just went along to find out, and I thought, well, this is me, they're not going to want me. Needless to say, I was welcomed with open arms, and after some training, I became a lay chaplain, and I was a lay chaplain at the cathedral for a number of years. Wow. And I felt at that point, I think I felt called to do this, because when I needed somebody, there was nobody there. And I thought, well, I can be one of those somebodies that can be there when somebody needs me.
That's so beautiful, isn't it, Ingrid? That's such a lovely way of redeeming that incredibly sad disappointment. That's a disappointing story or part of your life. The way that's redeemed and returned for good. Yeah.
I just see it as a sort of circle where the nobody being there for me was the starting point, and then the circle closed when I was that person that was there for others.
Yeah, that's lovely. As you say, it's a circle closed, and well, not closed, because you continue to do a lot of prayer ministry and helping in that side of things and praying with people, but it's doing the very thing that people didn't do for you. And actually, in a funny kind of way, had that, not that it's God ever wishes these or brings these things upon us, but had that not happened to you, it'd probably been a longer route for you to do what you were doing in the cathedral. Actually, this brought something good, as Abby says, out of something which is bad.
Yeah, I think I became very aware of the importance of prayer, which is why I got involved in prayer ministry at St. Martin's. Yeah, so
there's a couple of remarkable things we just want to talk, for you to share with us, and you had a situation that really confronted you with the reality of God, didn't it? Really, that you were aware of because of your prayer life, but in a way that actually is quite astonishing. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I had the sad experience of having both my mum and my brother terminally ill at different parts of the country, which, as you can imagine, was very distressing. And my mind wasn't functioning as it should at times. And at one point I was about to cross the road in the city centre, in the days when the buses used to go around Lady Godiva. And I was walking along, and I hit this perspex wall. Now, needless to say, there was no perspex wall, but I really felt.
Oh, Ingrid, you've cut out at the very moment. Oh,
Hopefully she'll be back.
Hopefully she'll be back any moment with us. Oh, back! You're back with us. Sorry about that. You were saying, so you hit the perspex wall that wasn't there, which froze you in time, rather like we just. And then,
right.
And then what happened?
I could see I was frozen, but I wasn't quite sure whether my voice was still going.
No, keep going now.
Yeah,
Go for where you stopped.
I hit this non-existent perspex wall, which I actually felt the impact, and in that very same moment, a bus just went past me. Had that invisible perspex wall not been there, I would have been under that bus, and that was, that. Who could do that if not God?
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Yeah. Really extraordinary.
That was.
So that really did, even amongst the difficulty of struggling with, people very close to you. God was able to reach out in this way to you in the midst of it, which is extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
Very much so. Yes, yeah.
So sorry, Abby.
No, I was going to say. So this been like sort of lifetime of walking alongside, being protected by, sheltered by Jesus, knowing Him with you, knowing Him protecting you, and then you have an opportunity where you get completely thrown in the deep end with Him. So tell us about that.
Yeah.
More than once over a very short period. Yes, some people watching this may remember when St. Martin's was sponsoring Toy Box, the charity that supports street children in South America. And through that project, we were invited to go and do something. So Alvaro is my husband, and I went off to Bolivia, where neither of us had ever been to Bolivia, to Cochabamba, which is the second largest town, which is really like a village. It's a very poor country. And we went along there to work with the street children that had been rescued from the street, so that we stayed in one of the homes, roughing it alongside them. It was an amazing experience, and I can't remember exactly, but I think we arrived on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. And on the following Sunday, we all trooped to church. So it was something like 4 adults and 23 boys. So off we went to church, and the services there last a rather long time. You go there at 9 and come out at 1:30 or something like that.
Wow.
So listen to St. Martin's people. Listen to how when you're moaning, it's sorry, you don't moan, I know, but when you're seeing it's over an hour.
Yeah. It could be in Bolivia.
So as we went in, we were introduced to the pastor there who welcomed us, and before the service started, he said, we've got these guests who have come from England, and they're staying at Little David was the name of the project. So anyway, we just got thrown into the service, which, by the way, was very touching, because some of the things that some of the worship songs were the same songs as we were singing at this end, only they were singing them in Spanish, where we sing them in English. Now, a couple of hours, perhaps not a couple of hours, but a while into the service, the pastor just said, and now I invite one of our guests from England to come and address us. At which point my husband said, "You're better at this."
Alvaro, it's all coming out now. Over to you.
So I thought, what's going on here? I'm not quite sure I can do this. So I moved exceedingly slowly, I think, from where I was sitting to the front of the church, thinking, what can I do? What can I say? Asking God for
what language were
inspiration.
you in at this point, Ingrid?
Oh, this is Bolivia. This is Spanish.
Spanish.
And I remind you that my spiritual language is English, right
English.
from when I was a child.
So not only were you going to have to do things completely off the cuff, it wasn't, as it were, in your spiritual language as well. And you're being thrown totally in the deep end. Fantastic.
This happened to be in 2008. And as I was walking very slowly up to the front of the church, in my mind's eye, I saw the banner that was on every church that year, Hope 08. So as I got to the front, I knew this is what I had to talk about. So I talked about Hope 08. So that was a bit of a baptism of fire.
Yeah.
Which was, in retrospect, it was a wonderful experience, because it really showed me that if God calls you to something, He will equip you.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely, and that whole theme of hope is massive this year. And I'll put it up later. I've just took a sign outside in the freezing cold of our large hope letters in the snow, and and it just reminded me again how we are beginning to see just slithers of. We always felt there was hope, but we're beginning to actually see it now. And so that seems a really appropriate place for us to. Believe it or not, we've been talking nearly 25 minutes, Ingrid. I know you said I didn't know how long it was going to take, or I'll be over really quickly. But these things. And I wanted to give a little bit of time, because Catherine's asked a couple of really good questions. I want to make sure. I don't know if you've seen them on your screen, but I'll read them out if you can't.
I don't see them on my screen.
Okie doke. So Catherine's asking, what nationality were your parents, Ingrid? Your Christian name doesn't sound Spanish, so I'm curious as to what took the family to Argentina.
Oh gosh, well, it'll be a family history. It was my grandparents who went to Argentina. My paternal grandparents were, my grandfather was a Scot and my grandmother was an Austrian. And on my mother's side, they came from what was then Czechoslovakia. Okay. So I was born in Argentina to this United Nations.
Yes, it sounds like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
In one person.
Yeah. But both my parents were born in Argentina as well. Okay.
Now the next question. Sorry, Ingrid. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
So the language there is Spanish. But yeah, my parents like the name Ingrid, so that's why I'm Ingrid.
Yeah, I have to say, it always I didn't associate Ingrid with a Argentinian name, so there you go. So Catherine's got another question, and this one, is a really, really interesting one. I'd be particularly interested in your insights on this. How would you encourage others to deepen their own prayer practice? How would you encourage others?
Oh, goodness, that's a biggie.
What would be the first thing, Ingrid, you'd think of?
Well, I just find that I have a hotline to God. So if I go out for a walk and see the trees or whatever is around me, I'm always conscious of I'm a bit of an artist, and I always think God's the best artist ever. So I tend to notice these things. So I give thanks for that sort of thing. So I just think that if you decide to focus on God, it's amazing how easily it comes. Um,
So would you
it-
say that, I think we think about prayer, don't we? We get kind of caught up in the right words to say and things, but actually what you're saying sounds more like just walking along with God, noticing stuff with him. Would that be more accurate?
yeah,
And then turning that into prayers.
yeah, I find that easier, and turning that into prayer. And there are times when um, I will ask God to talk to me, and just walk along. And it's surprising the things that happen. I remember on one occasion, just walking along a footpath, which was perfectly a normal footpath. Um, and then it became quite gravelly, and then it had potholes and things. And this really spoke to me. It was like God telling me, this is what life is like. You go through smooth bits, and then it gets rough, and so on. So it's yeah, wherever you are, things can speak to you if you have your antenna out there.
I think
So this is the listening that you've been practicing since you were a little girl, then, isn't it? This
it
is
is
this thing
really.
about just listening in. Yeah.
And what's really interesting as well is there's, I think, is it Brother Lawrence who calls it something similar, practicing the presence of God. And we kind of think that we have to be in some emotional place that we can. It's practicing the presence of God. It's living it out. It's when you're walking, inviting God, even though God's there anyway, inviting Him into your walk, isn't it, Ingrid? That's what you're kind of talking about. Is inviting Him into that time, and then allowing Him to gently speak to you. And that's I think that's off the top of your head, that's a really good start there. So thank you for that. One final question from Terry Jones is what or who took you to St Martin's? Does he know the answer to that and the reason he's asked you?
Well, when Alvaro and I moved to this house in Coventry, we decided that we wanted to find a church. So we looked around and saw all the churches that were about, and decided that we would go to a different church every Sunday. Now, we went to St Martin's first because it was the geographically nearest one, and we never went anywhere else. We just felt so welcome and so at home from the first moment we got there, that there was no point in looking any further.
Brilliant.
And I remember a funny thing on that first day when we went to St Martin's. I asked the vicar, who was Peter Watkins at the time. Can't remember what question I asked him. It was a geographical question about the church, and he said, "It's no good asking me. It's my first day today."
Excellent.
So I thought that was quite nice.
Both of your first days. That's
nice.
Great. That's really great. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. In fact, Ingrid, really appreciate you spending the time with us.
I feel it's been a privilege.
Well, it's been a privilege for us,
to hear.
Ingrid.
Absolutely,
absolutely, and thank Alvaro for being your support and mentor at the time. We miss Alvaro playing the bongos. Congas. Bongos. What am I talking about? Congas. So I'm sure he'll be coming back to do that soon. So we got some final questions.
Yes. Apparently it was Terry Jones's first day as well, Ingrid. So it was everybody's first day that day. It was obviously just a good day for you to have your first day at St Martin's. So there you go. Yeah. Looking at this. Right, quick fire questions. As you know, we've asked everybody these quick fire questions all about life, thinking about life in all its fullness, which is the verse that we are using and focusing on this year of mission. Jesus coming to give us life in all its fullness. So, first question, what was the best day of your life? Or one of them?
It's got to be 3 equal ones, and that
Okay,
was
I
the
know where this is going.
birth of my children.
Good answer.
Good
Excellent.
answer.
The gift of life. What better thing can you have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. What's the favourite day in your week and why?
Under normal circumstances, it's a Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday is the day that I go along to the weaver's house, and we open up the house for a drop-in centre, and I have the opportunity of sharing my skills, teaching to people who come along, and sharing my skills with my fellow weavers.
Amazing.
And yeah, we talk about everything to do with weaving, of course, but also other matters. And there's quite a lot of opportunity to talk about spiritual matters. And
That's
in
good.
fact, over this period of time, while there's been lockdown, I have been asked by some people, not only from that group, but from other groups, people who don't necessarily have a faith, but they've asked me if I would pray for them.
Wow.
Well, that's fantastic.
It just goes to show, doesn't it? It goes all these things we've been saying since the beginning of the year. We've been talking about mission. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular, does it? It can just be talking about Jesus, going with Jesus into our daily life, can't it? And seeing what he can do through us and in us, which is just wonderful, isn't it? Okay, so if you don't have one, I'm reliably informed that Matt has come prepared. Do you have a life hack, a favourite life hack, something that makes your life easier?
I have indeed, and it's just right here.
Oh,
go on then.
I don't know. Can you see it?
I'll tell you what. I'll go full screen. Let's have a look.
Oh,
right.
What's that?
It's this. Oh, it's difficult to know where to angle it.
Oh yeah, we can see it. Yes.
There we go. It opens up, and you put. I thought this would be easier to demonstrate. It's just finding where the camera is. So you cut your lemon in half.
Right.
You put your lemon. Put your lemon into that bit there.
Yeah.
No, you can only see my hands there.
Don't worry.
You squeeze. So it's basically it's a lemon squeezer.
Lemon squeezer. Yeah, we can see it now.
And the juice comes out through those little holes at the bottom. Whoops,
Without
can you
the
see them?
pips.
Yeah, we can see them.
The pips, the pips get stuck in there. So doing a demonstration wasn't quite as easy as I thought it might be. Basically,
good life hack.
You cut the lemon in half. You put the cut half to the bit where the little holes are, and you clamp it shut, and the juice all comes out very neatly, leaving the peel and the pips in the container, and you get much more juice out than if you're squeezing it by hand.
Well, that's far better than mine. Mine actually is a cooking one. Well, it's making toast.
You're going to share it, aren't you?
Well, I think perhaps I should. If you take butter cold from the fridge and it's far too hard to spread, use a potato peeler just to take a slither off. It's perfect to go on the top of toast.
Good thinking.
Well, I must admit my daughter told me that one because I couldn't think anymore. Anyway, so...
Oh dear, it's all about food in this church, isn't it? I
It
think we're all
is.
missing having the food
We are.
leadership, aren't we?
Well, I
All
was
the
going
life
to give
hacks
you
about
a
food.
weaving one, but I didn't think it would make much sense to anybody.
Definitely harder to demonstrate as well, Ingrid. Okay, last one then. Last quick fire question. What does living life to the full mean in your daily life, Ingrid?
Another biggie. Basically, I think it's just being there for people, being there when I'm needed, and again with a listening bit, being tuned in to when you're needed, because sometimes we're busily getting on with our lives and don't notice. So yeah, that's me, for me, living life to the full.
Lovely.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I can wrap up a bit. We were talking yesterday, weren't we? And you were saying one of the things that you'd used in Bolivia was Psalm 121 because it's one of your favourite psalms. And I was reading it through afterwards to remind myself of it. And actually, I feel like everything you've shared, Ingrid, it's such a perfect psalm, isn't it? It's a perfect way of describing how God has been with you. And it's just that last verse of last couple of verses from Psalm 121. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and your going, now and forevermore. So I think that describes from what you've described to us, but also what our prayer for you as you continue on that journey with Him.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, folks, I'm afraid that's it for now. We'd love to know what you think about this series. If you enjoyed it, we'll do something similar again at some point when maybe we're not under lockdown. But anyway, I just to say thank you so much, Ingrid. Really appreciate you spending time. And to thank you to Abby too, being part of this journey that we've been on over these last 5 weeks. 5 weeks.
It's
5
been
weeks.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. So,
5 weeks. So I've been promised that I won't say the sign off "Stay classy, St. Martin." So I will end by using those words.
Oh no! You see. Oh dear. I tried, but no.
Using those words that are on our wall, and that the church decided before any of this happened, before coronavirus, before the lockdown, this desire of the church to wanting to bless the community where it finds itself. And this was the verse that was chosen before all that. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace. That's our prayer for each one of you tonight. So thank you for spending this time with us, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. God bless.
Thank you. Bye.